Hello, good evening. If you can hear me. Yeah. Hello, good evening. Please let me know if you can hear me, okay? Okay, so please let me know in the comment section. I just want to find out if you can hear me. So we can continue. So I'm just trying to mark some lines on my pattern paper. So I want to start for this shoulder dart blouse. Good evening, welcome. I want to start with the back pattern, okay? So while I wait for somebody to help me to confirm that you can hear me. Okay. So the first thing I am going to do now, so these are all my lines. So I have my shoulder line, my bust point, my under bust, my waist, and then the full length. So this is my full pattern. So like I need somebody to help me to confirm if you can hear me, okay? So my shoulder to my bust is 10 inches, under bust is 13, and then the waist is 7, and then the full length is 23, okay? So the first thing I am going to do, like I said, somebody should please help me to confirm that you can hear me. I'm my shoulder line, shoulder measurement divide by 2. That's 14 divided by 2. I'll add 1 inch for allowance. So from that point, I'm going to come down by 1 inch. So I just want to do the back first, and then we'll do the front later. So I'll connect that measurement to the shoulder line. And then from shoulder line, I'm going to come down by 7.5 inches. You understand? So I'm going to come down by 7.5 inches, which I'm going to use as my armhole measurement. So I'll mark it this way and then connect it. Okay, so when I'm doing the front part, I'm going to explain how to get the measurement. So I'll connect. The next thing I want to do, I want to take my full body measurement. So by the way, the measurement I'm using, our bust is 36, our under bust is 30, the waist is 34, and then the hem is 40. So these are the measurements I'm making use of. So the next thing I want to do, okay. So the next thing I want to do, I want to place my full body measurement on here. So the bust, my bust is 36. I'll divide that into 4. I have 9 inches. So I'm just going to mark it and use the same line as my chest line. And then I'll add 3 inches, 2 inches for stitching allowance, 1 inch for that. I'll come to my under bust measurement. I want to mark my 30 inches, which is for my under bust. I'll divide that into 4, sorry. I have 7.5. Then I'm going to add 1 inch for that, and then 2 inches stitching allowance. All right, good evening, morning, Taylor. Okay, like I'm not seeing it properly. Sorry about that. So I'm going to come to the waist part. I'm going to add my waist divide by 4, and then my allowance and my dart. I'm going to come to the hip. So my hip divide by 4 is 10, and then I'm going to add my allowance. So these are the measurements that I need, okay? So at the end of the day, I'm just mark them. I'll connect them like this, okay? So I'm just doing the back because this one is just normal. So the front is where I will show you more details how to do this, okay? So the next thing we want to add our dart. So for the dart, we're using our bust and span measurement, which is nipple to nipple. So for this, I'm using 8 inches. So I'll divide the 8 inches into 2. I'm going to have 4 inches. So I'll mark the 4 inches across all the lines that I marked earlier. So I'll connect it like this. So like I said, I'm doing a shoulder dart. So I'm going to come to this top. I want to mark my neckline. So for the width of the neckline, I'm doing a V neckline. So I use 3 inches wide, and then for the depth I'm going to use 6 inches. Okay. So the next thing I want to do, I want to connect it like this. Okay. So I'll connect it that way. That's for the neckline. And then the next thing I want to do for the shoulder, that I'm to check what I have here. I'll divide that into two, and then I'll connect that line. I'll just connect the line straight like this. Okay. So the next thing I want to do, I want to take out my dart, and then I want to take a dart of 1 inch, so half inch on the waist side, and then half inch this way. The next thing I want to do, so for my bust line, I want to come down by 2 inches. So, and then from that 2 inches, I am going to mark my dart this way. Okay, can you see? So this is all I need. So the next thing, I want to shape the down part of my blouse. So for me to shape it, I'm going to come up by 2 inches or 2.5 inches or 3 inches. Depends on how curvy I want that to be. And from that point, I am just going to curve this into the down part of my blouse this way. So this is all I need. So for those of you that are just joining me, good evening. Life Wealth, thank you so much. Life with Vusu, thank you so much for joining. So you guys should like this video. So this is our back pattern. Okay. So now we want to go into the main highlight of today, which is our front pattern. But this back neckline, in case you don't want to use V neckline for the back, you can do round neckline. You understand? So you can just do the same three, make sure it's the same width, and then you curve it. But most times it's usually better to do a round neckline for the back. When you do a V neckline for the front, it's better. So this is my back pattern. Okay. If you have any questions, you can drop it. So let's do the main of today, which is the front part of the dress. The back is usually is once you can get the front, you can get the back. You guys should please let me know where you're watching me from. Okay. I would appreciate that. So let's now for our with our front pattern. So for those people that have just not joined now, after 9, you are going to miss a lot. So the first thing we want to measure is our shoulder line. So this line we're going to name it shoulder line. Okay. From that shoulder line, we want to mark our bust point, which is our nipple point. So for this, I'm going to use 10 inches for that line. So I'll mark the 10 inches here like this. And then we'll need the under bust line. So I'm going to mark my under bust line. So for because I'm going to add a side dart, for the back, I use 17 inches. So for this, I'll use 10 inches, okay? Or 18.5 if I'm using 1.5 inch for my side dart. And then the full length, I am going to use 23 inches, just the way we marked earlier, okay? So after that, all of those lines, I am going to connect them like this. Okay, I'll connect them. So these are all the lines that I need, okay? So the next thing we want to do now, so let's continue, let's take it slowly. So the next thing I want to do now, I want to come to this point. I want to mark that shoulder measurement. So we're using 14. So I'll divide 14 into 2. I'm going to have 7. I'll add 1 inch. So that's for my stitching allowance. So from here, the next thing I want to do, I want to come down by 1 inch like this. So once I come down by 1 inch, the reason for that is for my shoulder slope. So I'm going to connect that line. I'll connect it to my shoulder line that way. Can you see? I hope you guys can see it. So after that, the next thing I want to do, I want to mark my armhole. So for this armhole, I'm using 15 inches. So I'll divide my armpit, that's armpit, into two, and then I'll measure. I'll connect it. That is, I'll divide it into two. Okay. So this, I am going to mark this line. I'll run it across, and then I'm going to call it the chest line. Okay. So just like I said, so that first line was our shoulder line. So this was the bust point, our under bust, the waist, and then the full length was the last line. The next thing we want to do, I want to check half of this line, and I'm going to come in by like 1/4 of an inch on that line. and then I will connect that measurement like this. Can you see? I'm just going to connect it like this, so to give me my round my armhole measurement. Okay, so after that, the next thing I want to do, so for those of you that are just joining, you're welcome. You guys should please like this video, I appreciate it. So check this side, you see three dots of lines. Just click on the line, you see the like button, like the video. Okay, so I really appreciate that, just to give me some little bit of encouragement. All right, so let's continue. So now we have our chest line, we have our bust point, we have our under bust, and we have our waist, and then we've got our full length. Okay, so the next thing we want to do, we want to start impute our measurements. So like I said initially, the bust measurement we're using is 36, our under bust is 30, our waist is 34, and then the hem is 40. So those are the dimensions we are making use of this particular pattern. Okay, so the next thing we want to do, want to mark out, outline the lines for our dart. So the first thing, I'm going to come to my bust point like we did initially at the back. We used 8 inches, so you divide that into two for the bust one, which is the nipple to nipple. So I'm going to mark that 4 inches. I'm just going to mark across all the lines that I've got on my pattern paper. And then once I finish that, I'm going to connect it. I did not it on the chest line, if you notice. So the next thing I want to do, I want to come to this part. I want to come to this part to measure my neckline. So for the neckline width, I'm going to make use of 3 inches. And then from that 3 inches, I'm going to make use of 6 inches. So that's for the depth, or 5.5. So depend on what you actually want. And then the next thing, I want to create the V neckline. So I'm just going to create it that way. The next thing we want to do, we want to take out our what do you call it? We want to create the bust here. So for this bust pattern, depends on how many inches you want to make use of. So for this, I'm just going to be making use of about 2 inches for my dart. Okay, so if you have bust from like bust 40, you can go with 2.5 inches. Since I'm just going to make use of 2 inches, so I'll mark the 2 inches at that point, and then from that point I am going to connect that line. I'll connect it to my that bust point line that way. Can you see? I'll connect it way. So once I connect it that way, the next thing, I'm going to come to the shoulder part. Good evening. Thank you so much. Ade Owale, so much. Solange, good evening. So the next thing, I am going to come to my shoulder line, because to create the shoulder dart pattern. So after connecting this, taking out the to create the buster, so you can see the curve. So the next thing, from this bust point, you're going to come to this chest and shoulder line, and then you're after taking out your neckline, you're going to check what is left. So when you check what is left, you're going to divide that into, okay. So if you don't know, you can just check it. You can place your tape is more than, and then just undo your tape this way, just to get the midpoint, and then you are going to place that and then help connect. Okay, so after connecting it, the next thing you want to do, you want to connect this line like this. You see the way I'm placing my pattern? So I want to connect it like this. My hand is bending. I want to connect it like this. So once I connect it like this, I notice that part is a little bit sharp, which I really don't want. So the next thing I am going to do, I want to take out a dart from this point of about like half of an inch. So this is, you can decide to cut it in case you don't want a bust here that is so bust. Okay, so I'm just going to connect this like this. I'll just connect it like this. Okay, so the next thing, I want it to be that straight. Okay, so this is what I would make use of. Can you see? So this is what I would make use of. Can you see? So I've created my bustier pattern. I took out, you can actually take out 1 inch, which is okay. So the next thing I want to do, that I want to extend it to the down part of my pattern. So I'm just taking the 2 inches here like this, and then I'm going to mark it here, which I am going to extend to the down part of my blouse. there's pattern. I usually I can decide to, these 2 inches, I can decide to reduce it to like 1.5 inches. Okay. So then excuse me. The next thing I want to do now, I want to take out the full body measurement. So our bust is 36. I'm going to divide 36 into 4. I'll come to my chest line, which I'm going to have like 9 inches. And then I'm going to add my 2 inches of my dart and then 2 inches of stitching allowance. Excuse me. So I'm going to come to my under bust measurement, under bust line rather. I'm using 30 inches. I'll divide that into 4. I have 7.5. In my 2 inches that, and then my 2 inches stitching allowance. Remember, 2 inches was what we use for the back. And then I'm going to come to the waist measurement. I'm using 34. I'll divide that into 4.5. I'll bring in back my 2 inches that, and then my 2 inches stitching allowance. I'm going to come to the waist also. I have 40 inches for the waist. That's sorry for the hem. That into 4. I have 10 inches, and then I'm going to add 2 inches that, and 2 inches stitching allowance. Okay. So once I am done all of these lines, just watch what I am going to do. I'm going to connect them this way, and then I'll connect this way, and then here I am going to create my curve. Yeah. So I've created my curve. So the next thing I want to do, I want to add my dart. So from this point, remember I added 1.5 inches. I'm going to come up here from here like this. I'll come up by the 1.5 inches, and then I am going to connect that. Can you see? I'll connect that under bust. I'm sorry, to the bust point that way. And then when I connect that, I am going to cut that out because I'm going to have a little bit of truncating when I cut it. So after that, the next thing I want to do, this part I want to extend it to create that curve. Can you see? To create that curve that way. And then I okay, see me. I'm not supposed to cut, supposed to like join it first before I cut it. It's going to have a little bit of truncation, but most times, even this, what I normally do, if I don't want it this way, I'm going to leave it as like when I am cutting on my, what do you call it? I can add that addition. So I'm just cutting this off. So let's cut this off first before, and then I'm going to cut this. So once I cut this, I'm going to take my paper tape and then close. This side that is very good when you are doing shoulder that. It is very good. It will help it to have to be full. If you notice side that the shoulder that the bust here is not really that big, but it is this side, what do you call it? This side that will give you that beautiful curve that you want. So what I'm just going to do, I'm just trying to extend this to create. So that's all. So I'll just trim this now, and then I'm going to open this now. Okay, before I open that, let's mark the down part of our blouse. So if you have, you can drop your questions on the comment section. We are almost done. So I'm going more by 3 inches, just like we did with our back pattern. And then from that point, I am going to create a beautiful curve like this, just to give our blouse a shape. So like I said, if you have questions, you can drop your questions. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to cut this. So just watch and see how. Can you see how beautiful the pattern is looking already? Can you see how beautiful? You see how beautiful this, and once you sew this, you're going to have a beautiful bust here, shoulder that bust here. So the next thing, I am going to cut this off like this. So like I said, if questions, you can drop your questions on the comment section, and then I'm going to cut off this little bit of extra and then take off my neckline. Okay, so this is our front pattern. Can you see? Is she not beautiful? Can you see how beautiful our pattern is? So let me see. Let me just try and read the comments on the comment section. Hi, Deborah. Okay, my class is usually 7:10 in the evening. That's if we are doing evening classes. It's 7:10. Then the afternoon class is usually between 1 and 1:30. So it depends on when I am coming up. But most times I usually come up during the day. Like tomorrow, I'll come up between 1 and 1:30. That's in the afternoon for our sewing live streams. But our evening live streams, which are strictly pattern drafting, usually between 7:10. Okay, so please note, if you see I did not come up 7:10, maybe it's just due to some maybe small little hitch, but I'll still come up. So thank you so much for all of you that joined tonight. Let's see. Okay, okay. Thank you so much. God bless you, Solange. Thank you, Ogechi, Evelyn. Thank you so much. All of you that don't join, Deborah. Thank you. Thank you. God bless you. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye, bye, bye. So this is the back pattern. You can see our back pattern. The same shoulder, that's what we did. I'll see you guys tomorrow. God bless you. Bye.